All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Excess Succeed. This is Gearface. I'm so happy to be joined once again by Jay. Jay, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit about Ulrik from back in Red Horizon. I know a little bit about this guy, not a whole ton, so I'm looking forward to learning from Jay here. A couple disclaimers before we get started, as always. Number one, we're going to be talking about playing to win on this show. I'm talking tournament strategy. It's a little bit tricky to do with Ulrich because he is part of Red Horizon, which is a season that has rotated out of Exceed's competitive play. So if you find yourself playing him in some kind of legacy tournament or just want to apply what we're teaching you to, a kitchen table game, that's fine. But you're probably not going to have much use for this information in like a normal tournament. If you are in a legacy tournament, I understand that Ulrich's a pretty strong character. You probably could do worse. If you don't enjoy the lines of play that we're describing, though, don't play that way. Exceed's a game you can play for fun. I encourage you to play for fun. If these aren't fun for you, please don't play this way. Um, Number two, we're gonna be pretty prescriptive about strategy on this show. This is an old enough character that the lines of play are pretty entrenched. People kind of know how they play for the most part. That doesn't mean we know everything. Jay, despite being an expert, his opinion is just an informed one. And Exceed's not a solved game, so please take everything we're saying with a little bit of a grain of salt. If you don't agree with the rules to Jay's strategy on Ulrich, please form your own and tell us why we're wrong. But yeah, with all that said, Jay, please tell me a little bit about our friend Ulrich.
Ulrik is he is a stat monster. He hit big numbers that you can't really stop him from hitting you with. He has a lot of movement effects that kind of put him where he wants to be, and he has a couple of things that are just a little bit very unfair.
A little bit very unfair. Okay.
Yeah, but he's not broken. He hits pretty hard though.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Um, in the sort of old school tournament meta of the Red Horizon days, Ulrich was kind of considered to be one of the stronger characters, right?
Yeah, I would consider him to be a pretty solid counter for someone like Mei Lian, for example.
Okay, who was sort of, and for people who don't know this history, I only vaguely know it. Once Alice got banned, uh, characters like Maylene and I don't know, maybe Lily were considered sort of like the strongest unbanned characters, and Ulrich was right up there with them. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
At least in
Um,
my opinion. Opinions will vary on who actually is the strongest after that point.
sure, sure. All right, so he's gonna hit you really hard. He's gonna move around where he can hit you pretty easily. Um, how do we evaluate his kit? Where should we start?
Well, he's got. I would say his kit has three kind of gimmicks to it, right? Overall, uh, themes that go across his entire play kit.
Okay.
The first one is going to be he has lots of stuff that ignores armor. The second one is going to be he has lots of stuff that moves him around the battlefield. And then the third one is going to be he has lots of ways to get extra power.
Okay.
So as we go through his kit, we're going to be looking at different ways he's played into his themes.
Okay.
So just
And
I'm going to start with this character card and the Exceed side because they're both variations on the same thing. But as an action, you move you move one space and strike. So it does not let you move past the opponent, so it's only a close. But close or retreat one and strikes pretty good for a mobility focused character. Gives just a little bit of action compression.
sure. I mean, this kind of boost or this kind of effect shows up a lot on characters' boost kits. For notably in like the Under Night season, there's something very similar in Mix Up. People love move one and
Yeah,
strike. That's a really
yeah,
really strong little micro spacing ability.
yeah. It's great for um, diffusing boost wars. You just move to the spot where they're not threatening you, then you strike. It's great for giving your own boost to go off in the right way. Move to the where it's effective, and then you strike.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Okay. Other
As well as
than
just adding some hit confirm to some of your cards.
sure, sure. Yeah. I mean, you're at range 2. You have an assault in your hand. You move back to range 3. You strike with it.
Yeah,
It kind of fixes your positioning. So this is an
not
action.
complicated, but good. Yeah, as
Yeah,
an action.
definitely.
Yeah,
This is an action, which means obviously you have to do it on your turn. But
yeah.
also, does he, other than things like reading, which are also an action. Does he have anything
Mhm.
in his kit that would conflict with this, or can I pretty much use it whenever I want to?
You pretty much use it whenever you're initiating, if you want to.
Okay, cool. So no real conflicts like that. So if I'm at a range I don't want to be, I can probably just get there. It doesn't
Yeah,
really require too much thought other than that.
absolutely.
Nice. All right, sounds good. What about
And then
his? Oops,
his
sorry.
exceed side, it's more of the same. It's just stronger. So it's 3 costs to exceed. You do lose some tempo by doing that. You lose some gauge. You might not want to do that because gauge his ultras are pretty good. But as an action, you can now move 2 spaces and strike. You still can't move past the opponent, but still, this is even more of that being able to position where you want to in a strike.
Okay. This is not up to two, so I'm actually losing the ability to move one and strike. I it's like his legs got longer.
Yeah,
Like he takes
yeah, yeah,
bigger
yeah, yeah.
steps now.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so is this like strictly an upgrade? Is it usually just better to be on exceed side, or do I sometimes miss the ability to microspace with my front side ability?
Mm. There's a little bit of that. It's also just the opportunity cost of not using your gauge for other things, not using your turns to do other things,
Right.
because this is a action compression ability. So losing a turn is anti-action compression.
Right. I'm sort
Um,
of spending a turn in order to save a turn later. So
yeah,
I'm going to need to, in order to get the value out of it, I will at least need one use of move two now strike, ideally more.
you would need at least 2 uses because you can just do some other way of spending gauge to move and strike.
True. Okay.
Well, I
Sure.
guess you won't move and strike, but you can generally do better things with your turn than exceed.
Right. Okay.
But it is generally an upgrade. You're right. It does give you some restrictions in terms of what you can do. If you're advancing, obviously it's not a restriction because if too much because if you're at range 2, you still advance to range 1 regardless because it doesn't let you move past them.
Oh, true. Yeah. I mean
Yeah,
your opponent is still a wall. You just get to range one from farther away now. That works.
yeah.
Do you
It's a
find
decent upgrade. It's just probably not worth the tempo loss in my opinion. A lot of the
okay?
time.
So you typically don't find yourself exceeding as Ulrich.
Oh, I still do but I'm just saying it might not be the optimal move.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Any advice on when like what matchups you do want to do it in, or is it just when you find yourself regularly being outspaced and you're like, I could use moving two instead of moving one.
Oh, it's usually just when I'm feeling like I have too much gauge and I want to spend it on something.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that sounds good.
Like,
So
I'm gonna be honest. It's just I like that I like that little nice feeling in my brain of getting to push the exceed button.
okay, yeah, no, I get it. There's a reason we play card games, but probably not my number one concern about how I'm spending my gauge. Then I have other things to do
Yeah,
with it. Okay, sounds good.
yeah.
Um,
And again, the gauge is part of it, and it's also the turn loss.
the
You're
turn
losing a
loss,
turn to
right?
exceed. Yeah.
Is he kind of a rush down character then, or is that just something that kind of every character needs to be aware of how many turns they're spending doing things?
He is a build up and then rush down character. So he goes through phases where he is trying to get down a lot of boost and get into the right position, and then turns where he's just going to hit you.
Okay.
So he kind of goes back and forth depending on where he's at.
Okay, and he could so the tempo loss is not necessarily time that he would be spending striking over and over again, but it's time that he could be spending setting up to strike various other things
Yeah, time he can be spending like changing cards to get more stuff he wants, playing boost, you name it.
sure. Okay, that makes sense. All right, where do we want to start in terms of the kit then?
Um, just pick a card. They're all good.
Yeah, let's just go left to right then.
All
Tell me a
right,
little bit about
lightning javelin.
lightning javelin.
Lightning javelin is your signature season 1 completely broken opener. It's range 4, speed 6, power 3. So it'll if you're going first, it's probably gonna at least hit. Um, Often the best thing you can do against this is you see Ulrik opening, you just play sweep and deal more
You
damage
just
in return.
mash sweep.
But
It
he
also got
does, yeah,
advance as
he
far
does,
as possible too.
yeah, exactly. Um, which usually means you advance close to them because it's 4 to 6. So there's not a whole lot of situations where you're going to end up away from them.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
but it
You
is it is a very reliable attack at speed 6 at that range. Yeah.
where does he typically want to be? Because I can definitely envision let me grab our training dummy here really quick. I can definitely envision a situation where I'm like I'm like this, and I speed 6 advance as far as possible, dodges all sorts of things by getting over here, but it doesn't really look like I want to be there.
So I'm going to say that range 6 is actually really a great place for him to be. And it's because of that ignore armor line, right? So speed 6 ignore armor means that you can stack power on this, and there becomes pretty much no way they can counter it past a certain amount.
Okay, so 3 power doesn't seem like that much, but above curve, dramatically above curve, actually, ignore armor with,
Yeah.
let me just look here, power, 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 speed, power, armor. So he's got a lot of power boost. You can make this
Yeah.
pretty ridiculous if you're doing
Yeah.
mid range.
Yeah, you want to if your opponent does not have ranged options and you can just sit, way far away from the opponent and boost up for a few turns, this becomes very scary very quickly.
Okay, so even if I'm not, if I've got like EX lightning javelin in my hand and I'm over in this position somewhere, I could conceivably put this down and not even hit with it and still get quite a bit of value out of it by getting all the way over here.
Yeah, that is one thing you can do, and there are situations where. Well, no. The advance as far as possible is a hit.
Oh,
effect,
I'm
so
sorry.
no,
It's a hit effect. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, let's not do the Lucia thing where we
we just sprint away from the opponent. So I would at least and four means that if I'm in the corner, they're at mid range. I can't ever get that far away from them.
Yeah,
Really.
it does not create. It doesn't create distance. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's just a really, really, really fast poke that if I'm far away from my opponent for other reasons, I can turn into a pretty crushing attack.
Yeah, it starts off as a poke, so if you just want to get some gauge, that's fine. You'd like to make it more than a poke by just stapling some power to it. Because again, ignore armor on a fast attack is a really strong combination.
Sure, yeah, that's a game closer. It's a reliable way to deliver whatever power boost I put on it to get value out of it. Sure.
Yep.
Because it's so above curve, am I also frequently just using it on defense?
Hey, if your opponent doesn't have a speed 6 range 4 to 6 option, which after season 1, that's pretty rare to have, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we've got like one of the few characters in the game who does have one.
Ryu has it, and it's notably considered one of Ryu's defining options. But yeah, most characters can't really deal with speed 6 at range.
Okay,
most characters are going to be playing that good old put down sweep and hope he runs into it.
And hope you run into it, try to bait it out, sure. And even then, I guess in some situations at least, you could even dodge the sweep, but that's pretty board state dependent. Okay, so that's very strong then.
Yep.
Okay. Do we want to cover boosts as well, or do we want to just go straight on through cards?
Let's just go straight through the cards. Oh, let's do boost. We can do boost. Yeah, boost.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Sure.
This boost is actually not super exciting, but again, if you're not exceeding his Ulrik, which is something I suggest that optimally, I exceed his Ulrik all the time, but optimally you might consider it a loss. This boost is a good alternative way to spend your gauge. You got 3 gauge, that's plus 6 power on your next hit.
Okay, and if I'm ignoring armor, that's plus 6 power means means 6 damage, which is a lot of damage.
Yeah, you want to threaten, something that ignores armor, like the other copy of Lightning Javelin.
Other copy of Lightning Javelin, of course. Yeah, that's how it always is, isn't it?
Yeah. So suddenly it becomes an ultra with a single boost in play, and it's a season 1 ultra at that point in terms of stats.
Right, which is I mean, we're talking a 4 to 6 9/6 with ignore armor is pretty messed up.
Yep.
Other than Lightning Javelin, is there? I mean, plus 6 power is making my grasp stun focus, right? Like it's pretty tough to not find something to do with plus 6 power. Are there any other like particular card combinations I should be looking out for?
With extra power, like you said, grasp is actually really good. Grasp is good. Like fast things that you know you're going to hit with, that's what you want to put that extra power on, because that's where you hit those breakpoints.
Yeah, just stuff that you're probably going to hit with anyway. You got an EX attack to go above curve, something like that. You'll be fine.
Yeah, there's a rule in Exceed of speed is effective at a certain point. Like plus 2 speed, plus 3 speed is insanely strong.
Right.
But power becomes even better than speed at high enough values.
Right. Yeah. If you have plus 10 speed, what are you trying
Yeah,
to
that doesn't
outspeed?
do much. Yeah, that doesn't do much more than plus 3 speed or plus 4
Right.
speed.
Right.
But if
Right.
you have plus 10 power, that's game breaking right there.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking for places where I'm gonna hit with this. I'll be using this boost pretty often. I'll be using the attack pretty often. Do you find yourself using both sides of this card pretty 50-50, or do you prefer using one or the other?
I prefer the lightning javelin side because I generally want to. Ignore armor with plus power from some source of boost is just worth it enough that I like to use that. Plus,
Okay.
it's above curve, like you said. Like, there's not a whole lot of stuff that stuffs this, so
Sure.
it
Okay.
is a very reliable option.
Okay. So I would generally, and I have other sources of bonus power that I don't
Yeah,
necessarily need
but
overcharge, especially.
don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on it. Like, if you got that 3 gauge or even 2 gauge, overcharge is really strong.
Okay. Sounds good. How about 100 million volts?
100 million volts. It's almost going to be the opposite case. This is an ignore guard attack,
Okay.
so it's going to be good against opponents who do have some way to get a, a bazillion guard in play, because it only does 1 damage by default. But as you see, that hit effect lets you boost the damage more, so you can
Right.
get over whatever the native guard is, and then you just stun them. So this is a pretty good range one. I'm going to diffuse your setup if they're a slow defensive character type of card.
Okay. Um, so it's a little bit under curve at range one. Spending up to 5 force. How is his like card draw and economy? Should I be looking at that as being like a gigantic uh, econ sink, or can he draw cards pretty well?
He doesn't really have. Well, let me take a quick look. I might have forgotten something. No, he doesn't really have card economy. He is just playing the standard economy that you'd have without any economy features in your kit.
Okay, he just kind of punches you. So this 5 force actually is a lot then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, Again, you might use your gauge for that, because being aggressive with gauge is actually a good play, in my opinion.
Okay,
But yeah,
sounds good.
it's a lot. But it's generally the way you play this card is you play enough force to stun the opponent. So if they play focus, you spend a 2 force to stun them.
Just to get over that armor value,
Yeah,
and I mean
yeah,
this is gonna win combat all the time on everything but grasp
yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's just
Basically,
it's a free low value combat win that is kind of scary. You
yeah.
can pump
It's
it up a
below
lot if
curve.
you need to.
It's technically below curve. It doesn't really win games, but it does win that strike if
Okay.
it hits. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Sure. Um. Is this is it sounds like Lightning Javelin is kind of a more important part of his game plan. Is 100 million volts just sort of like a thing he has that it's a button I'll press sometimes?
It's a strong card. It's a strong card. It's something that if you need it, you need it. If you don't need it, you can just play the boost on it.
Okay. Yeah. And tell me about charging power.
Well, so this is pretty straightforward. It's +1 power for each card engage. It anti-synergizes with the overcharge boost we just looked at. Because if you spend that gauge on hit, then you no longer have that in your gauge to power, but charging power.
Oh,
So that's
sure.
just something to note.
This is a passive effect, so it's always being checked, which
Yeah,
means that it would go down.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
this also doesn't
But
mean I'm not spending the gauge. So if I just have
yeah,
eight
yeah,
gauge,
correct.
that's plus 8 power.
Yeah, and like if you only have like 2 or 3 gauge, this is still +2, +3, +4 power is really good, especially when you have fast attacks, fast
Like
reliable attacks like lightning
like
javelin.
lightning javelin. Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm setting this up when I have even a decent amount of gauge, preferably not when
Yeah.
I'm hitting an ultra or something like that, and I've got at
Right.
least a fierce worth of value, probably quite a bit more.
Yeah.
Um,
That does kind of if you only have 3 gauge in play, this does kind of forecast that you're not playing an ultra unless you're bluffing because it doesn't
right.
synergize with that. But it's still pretty good. Like
Okay.
+3 power is pretty nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm coming from like season 7 Exceed where no one in the game has +3 power, so this already sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Um, so this is also uncapped. So if I do build up like 10 gauge somehow, that's
Correct.
that's messed up. So I this could just
Yeah.
be it's not quite a gauge payout, but it's definitely a benefit for having a lot of gauge.
Yeah,
Um,
well, so that seems strong. We're going to get to something that makes, if you want to do uncapped power, this is small potatoes.
okay, that's Ominous. So my game plan as Ulrik then is not build up 20 gauge and then hit with overcharge to kill my opponent.
You absolutely can if that happens, but I would advise being a little bit more aggressive with gauge. Probably change cards action, honestly.
To get the stuff I really want to hit with, including
Mhm.
maybe 100 million
Yeah,
volts.
yeah. I mean that's where your economy is going to come from. Is change cards action with gauge.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we can talk about economy considerations and how all these influence playstyle afterward.
Yeah,
Should we move on to Blitzhammer?
yeah, absolutely. So the
I
attack on Blitzhammer is it's kind of like assault, except you don't have advantage. You do have that reposition afterwards. It's honestly it's underwhelming, but it's on curve. Having on curve stuff is good. It lets you deliver all that power bonuses that you've already got in play. It really only works because this kit has so much plus power in it.
right.
Otherwise,
It's just
it'd be
kind of
fine.
it's
It'd
just
be
kind
fine,
of
but it wouldn't be special. Yeah,
less good assault.
yeah,
Um, the hit effect is not enough to like move out of the way of a sweep or something. But if they defend with
right.
focus, you could back up a little bit and
Yeah,
just. But you're mostly using this to get to a range where you can defend yourself, right?
yeah. The hit effect is honestly it's going to be used for the turn after the
Right,
strike, right?
exactly, right. Not necessarily uh you're dodging something, but just maintaining a threatening defensive position.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay. But otherwise, not the biggest deal in the world. I have better things to do. How about Thunderous Might?
It's plus 3 power with 0 cost. Like I don't know what
That's
else you want, man. That's really
yeah.
good.
It's just better fierce.
Yeah,
Um,
it's better fierce, and it's just there. There's no conditions on it. Just take
and
the
it
power and
and
enjoy.
and it's on a card that I'm not incredibly sad about losing. So it sounds like this is often going to be a boost.
It is a fantastic boost. If you have to play it as an attack because you need to play something on curve, I guess. If you're going to deliver some power on curve, go for it. But plus 3 power is really hard to say no to.
Sure, yeah, and all right, now awesome. Lightning Javelin hits for 6 ignore armor.
Exactly. Yeah,
Uh,
and yeah, hit for 6 in no armor. Just beat focus right out the gate.
yeah, and uh, above curve, do it on defense. All these I'm passing the turn with, so keeping that in mind. But plus 3 power, they got plenty of ways to confirm that stuff. All
Yeah,
right,
I'll pass turn if it's plus 3 power. I'm fine with that.
no, it's what a shame to be passing turn with just that amount of threat on the board.
Yeah.
How about ionization?
All right, ionization. This is your anti-lightning javelin. This is the hit retreat as far as possible. It doesn't work at range 1. It is technically on curve at range 4, but you know it's a pretty nice kind of dive-like in the sense that you play it range 3, range 2 with a speed boost, and there's not really much they can counter you with because it's a mid speed. Or if you just play it to counter a sweep or focus, it acts as a mid speed against those because it gets way out of the way.
Sure, yeah, you're not technically you don't have the text on dive that says your opponent's attacks miss, but you are probably gone unless they played
Yeah.
range
It
1 to
doesn't
8
say
or
the
something
opponent's
like that.
attacks miss, but the opponent's attacks tend to miss when you 6 spaces one move.
Sure, sure. And 5 damage is nothing to sneeze at. It seems like the combo would be into lightning javelin.
Yeah, actually, that's really good. Like you ionization away, then you can lightning javelin back in.
Right. And while I'm out there if they don't have ranged options, I put down some bonus power first and just blow them up.
Yeah, like if you catch them with lightning with ionization on defense, and you can just get out of there, and then you have a free turn to put down a power boost, and they either have to walk up to you and you get more turns, or they stand there and they eat a lightning javelin at plus power. So
Right. Okay. So
it's a great setup strike, honestly.
and because of how much movement, I mean, just between these two cards, advance as far as possible, retreat as far as possible, and my character ability, I have a ton of spacing options. I got stuff to do at range, I got stuff to do close up. I can probably make a combo out of these cards
Oh,
in
absolutely. Yeah,
in
they
pretty much
combo
whatever
very well.
situation I'm in. Okay, cool.
And then,
Out
just in case you don't want to combo that specific way, here's another way you can combo is with the boost. All
move
right, you got
any
that
number
speed
of
force.
spaces and
Move,
+2 speed. Good
yeah,
lord.
move anywhere, plus 2 speed. You're going to probably spend an ultra to pay for the force cost, but it's fine. Uh, that is really strong. If you're a little bit creative, you can say what that what spacing you want, what speed, where that +2 speed is going to actually matter.
Sure,
There,
you get to range 3. You play a spike or a dive just among the normals.
yeah, it actually makes it really hard to choose whether you need ionization as an attack or as a boost, because that boost is very good setup, like really good setup.
Right.
And the attack is also really good setup. So you got that 50-50 where you're making a value judgment between two really good effects.
Yeah, it seems like the tipping point would be like whether you actually need to retreat or not. Like if you're trying to set up lightning javelin, you don't need the bonus speed.
Yeah,
Um,
sometimes it'll come down to like if you're cornered, you don't have a lot of stuff to get you out of the corner. So this does that boost get you out of the corner.
right.
If you're
Yeah.
not cornered, the attack is just use your character ability to step back and then do the attack.
Right. Right. Okay. Um, so +2 speed needs no introduction. Everyone knows that light is really, really strong. You have a lot of movement, but you don't have a lot of movement that is like non-committal like this. Like this is
Yeah,
a hit
yeah.
effect. This is a hit effect. Okay, so definitely some use cases there. Um, all right, cool. How about and so I'm going to be I'm going to be looking for this card one way or another. When I'm doing change cards actions, it seems like this is one of the ones I'm looking for.
Yeah, like if I'm mulliganing, I'm looking for lightning javelin and I'm looking for ionization because those two, whether I'm going first or second, those two are really nice to have in my hand at opening.
Okay. Yeah, I mean if I'm going first and they don't have above curve range 4 options, hit them and back up and then play the other one.
Yep.
Seems okay. Or honestly, like even vice versa. Just
Or even just the fact that you have both of these in your deck means they have to respect you at range 4 no matter what they have because
right,
you could always play the other one.
right.
They can't just answer with sweep because you could always be playing ionization.
And I can pretty much always get to like I mean getting to range 4. You spend a lot of
Yeah, it's
time
not
to
hard.
exceed it at range 3. Cool. I back up
Yeah,
one. Now
it's not hard to do. Yeah.
I've got my setup going. Do I typically find myself like is range 4 just like a strong range for me, or do am I kind of good at a lot of ranges?
You're good at a lot of places. You don't want to be range 2 specifically, is what I would say. But you're fine at range 2 specifically because you have your ability, which says you can take a step back and strike.
Oh, sure. I could be at range 3 with my +2 speed, or I
Yeah,
could be at range 1 with something else. Okay. So on
yeah,
my
yeah,
turn, being at range 2 is no problem.
yeah. Exactly.
Gotcha.
You
Okay.
have yeah.
How about I've heard about this card. How about inevitability?
Inevitability might be the single most infamous season 1 card in the entire set, including all of
Yeah.
Alice's BS.
Yeah. Even I like I'm do my best on these lessons to not know anything about the characters going in so I can have like genuine reactions. Even I, in my ignorance, have heard about inevitability.
Yeah, so let's just start with the stat line. 131, stun immunity, ignore armor before close 8 spaces. So the
Okay.
name here is fitting because if you play it, it's almost inevitable that you're going to hit them.
All right. So
Right?
like
You can't.
the ways that this would miss is if they played a ranged attack or like a ranged dodge, like attacks at range 1 don't hit you, or
Yeah, that's one way.
if you died first.
Yeah, yeah. Dying is one way. Killing Ulrik is one way to stop inevitability from
Okay.
working,
I
and
mean,
that has been part of my game plan in past matches I've had.
notably, that also stops most other attacks in the game, is if you kill the person attacking you. So that's not really special for inevitability.
Yeah,
All right, so it's really,
but
really hard to dodge.
you can't dodge it. You can't block it because it ignores armor.
Ignores armor, right?
You can't stun it.
Right.
Uh, and then it's only 3 power, but we've already seen that he has all the power he wants to from boost. So it's not actually +3 power. You always play this with +3 power, +4 power, where it's delivering ultra levels of damage.
Right. So
So
this
inevitability wins the game for you. Period. If the opponent is below the threshold at which it will kill them.
and if you have a life lead on them, there's really nothing they can do.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so if
Like
I if
inevitability is saying that yes, there's still turns left in the game, but you've already lost because I have this card that wins no matter what.
right. So we're in a situation where Ryu's got, 10, 12 life or something like that.
Yeah.
I've ionizationed out back to here somewhere. I put this down.
Yep.
Um, if they give me another turn and I can put down thunderous might or something enough to kill him from 12 life. Cool. Inevitability, literally the game is over unless they tech
Yeah,
one of these boosts.
he can play all the force to move into your face. He can save up for a block. It doesn't matter. He's gonna die.
Okay.
Maybe he can kill you off with one strike, but he otherwise the game's over at that point. Even though he
Okay.
has X amount of life left.
All right. So the counter strategy to this is actually parrying inevitability, is not letting
Oh
you
yeah,
play it.
parry inevitability, very strong play.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
absurdly important that you don't miss your parry when you're going for inevitability.
Okay, I gotcha. So this is my dedicated the game is over, I have a bus to
Yeah.
catch button. Do I use it before the end of the game, or is it just like, no, you actually just have 20 life instead of 30 for the whole
Uh,
game, and I'm playing it at the end of the
yeah,
game to finish it off?
yeah, no, that's exactly correct. You just play it as they actually start with less life. They just don't know it yet. It's not recorded on the timer yet.
Okay. Um
And
and
here's the great thing about it. Like you mentioned that setup where you're at range 7, and their only hope is to parry inevitability. Do you know what happens when they parry inevitability?
do
And
you
you
play the
got
other one?
you got 9 power on the table. No, let's say they've got both of them. They got rid of both of them because they either got lucky or they're smart on their timing, and they and you've got +9 power on the table. Do you know what happens?
I mean,
You take one
if
forward
you're
with
range 7,
character
you take one
ability,
step, lightning javelin, and
and
kill him
you
anyway.
lightning javelin, and they still
Yeah.
lose.
Yeah,
So
okay.
inevitability is just like it's just saying this is guaranteed, but I have other stuff that still functions if you get rid of inevitability.
Because the thing that actually enabled this to make it so scary in the first place was the plus a billion power I already put down.
Exactly.
Okay. So this setup requires like a turn, right? At least because this works on
Yeah.
defense. My opponent strikes into me to try to like
Yeah,
pour
you
damage,
need at
tech
least one
this.
turn. That's your that.
Yeah, I don't need to be like, okay, this and fierce to make inevitability work. If they have
But
8 life or something, I can make this work
yeah,
with one turn pretty
yeah.
easily.
You don't need it. You certainly would like it if they gave you multiple turns. That would be very nice.
Right. But because they
So
know they know this
what I'm
card
telling you
exists, they
right
probably
now
won't.
is what I'm telling you right now is that you probably don't win a boost war with Ulrik. Like you might have better boost quality with him, but you still won't win the boost war.
Right, because you probably can't deal with inevitability, and if you're the kind of character
Yeah,
who can, you probably know that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Because of how crazy inevitability is, are you ever playing Arc Impulse?
Uh, Arc Impulse would be kind of broken in just about any character's kit, and it's still really strong in this kit. Like it's an auto dodge at range 1. Range 1 auto dodges are really important. Lets you, deal with a lot of BS. But like you said, it's on inevitability.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I, I, I've
that's
played
kind
it.
of a limiting factor.
I've played it. I've played it where it worked out very well playing it. I'm not actually 100% certain that it's correct to play it, but inevitability does have that one weakness, right? If you die before the attack hits, you lose, and Arc Impulse
Right.
deals with that situation pretty
Right.
well.
I mean, you know where this shines then, Jay, is in the Ulrich mirror. That everyone always, I
you
know that
know, yeah,
mirrors and exceed suck, but
that's a good point. Arc Impulse is one of the few counters in this game to
to
inevitability.
inevitability, yeah. If only a different character had it. Okay, so if my opponent has something that is conceivably equally scary at range 1 or getting to range 1 with that inevitability, maybe Arc Impulse is the play. But most of the time, I'm saving this up to just kill my opponent.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Arc Impulse
Okay.
is something you use if the situation says you need it. But even if the situation says you need it, you have to do the math and say, maybe it's okay to lose here because I still win the game if I play inevitability later.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, if I have even slightly a life lead or even a life deficit, but not enough that my opponent can kill me in one hit, inevitability just ends the game.
Yeah. Or even
Okay.
if you have that move any number of spaces. So like in this setup, you get over here. Um, you can. And there's not a whole lot they can do to you from this range, unless Ryu. But still, most characters can't do much at this range. So inevitability is safe even at speed 1.
Yeah, that's true. So I have what, like 3 different, I guess lightning javelin not really, but ionization is definitely a way to set it up.
Hmm.
Speed force is definitely a way to set it up, especially if I've got cornered. What is like the, how do I put this? Like, you don't need gigantic range to play inevitability, right? Like that's just when they can't do anything about the setup. I could play this at range 1. Um it
Yep.
it's still going to work. It's still going to kill them. Um so what I'm actually looking for when I'm running away like this is room to put down uh uh charging power or overcharge or something, right? I'm not actually looking to hit with inevitability from a safe range because inevitability is always safe.
Yeah, you play inevitability like its name says. You're not desperate to ever get it into play because you know it's inevitable. So you're just playing boost and stuff and trying to make your current whatever your next strike is good. And then the opponent gives you a bunch of extra turns because they're trying to, counterplay, boost war you, and then you say, okay, now inevitability is going to just come online and destroy you or whatever.
Right, hit you for 10 plus. So what is like in a typical game against an opponent who is trying to who knows Ulrik and is trying to deal with Ulrik stuff? How
Yeah,
much damage is inevitability actually hitting for?
like I said, it's probably about 10 a game.
Okay, yeah, that's too much for a stun immune ignore armor
Yeah,
before close 8. Okay,
yeah,
so
and
that's
and the thing is, like, it's 10 a game because you can also use it defensively when you don't have any boost to play it, right? The opponent's got you dead to rights, and there's nothing you can do to stop them, and they'll stun out anything you throw out. Inevitability is still 3 free damage that they can't stop.
sure. And
So like,
if
you
you're
use one copy of it defensively, use the other copy to just
to kill
deal
them.
7-8 damage, and it's still meaning you're doing a guaranteed 10 or 11 damage a game with inevitability.
Okay. All right. So across 2 copies expect 10 or 11 damage, probably most of it in 1 strike.
And that's the low end, honestly. Like
Right.
if you get things to go your way, it's going to be higher.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um tell me about second strike.
Second strike, 2 gauge ultra. That stat line is 348, very strong. This is very much a season 1 ultra.
Red Horizon Ultra. Yeah.
It's got way too many stats, and it's just good because of stats. It ignores armor. So you see, we now have a third ignore armor option, and this one's at speed 8, so there's not really anything anyone's going to outspeed it. This means that this is your other game win condition because they're saying, well, I'll deal enough damage to kill you before inevitability hits, but you won't because I go at speed 8 and deal 4 damage that you can't block. So this is going to kill you instead of inevitability now.
Okay, and if I've got enough power in play to turn inevitability online from a higher life threshold, I also have
Yeah,
enough to turn second strike online as long as it's at range 3,
yeah,
or I guess at
yeah.
range 4 because I have my character ability.
It's range, yeah. Like you said, it's actually range 2 to 4 because of your character ability.
Right, on initiation. Okay, and like they'll know it's coming probably, but who cares? It's
And you love to initiate with it because it's hit gain advantage means it's still your turn even after you initiate.
true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's really scary. So this is, and I mean, at 2 gauge, this seems very playable, even if I am kind of gauge starved.
You're not gauge starved enough to not play this. You can play this twice a game without feeling uncomfortable.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Um, not to interrupt. I'm finally noticing something. Why does Ulrik look completely different in every one of these pictures?
Do we have the alternate costume, Ulrich? I think that one's even more variety.
Alternate costume. I know that we have like the AI generated one that people did for April Fool's Day. Hold on a second.
No. I mean like the actual official alternate
Let
live
me
one.
see. Let me see what I can do here. Uh, this guy.
Yeah. I believe that's official art as
That's
well.
that's not the same person. So maybe one of the reasons that Ulrich is so good is that there's actually like 4 of him.
Yeah, there's 4
Uh,
different fighters, each with their own separate strengths, and then you're using the best card from each kit.
from each kid, of course. All right. Sorry for
Yeah,
that interruption. It just occurred to me when I was looking at second strike. I was like, that's not the same person that's on Lightning Javelin.
yeah.
How about Thunderclap?
Thunderclap. So I said you can probably hit with second strike twice a game.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and reshuffle that. We get 2 copies of it back, so you can boost with it twice a game as well.
Okay.
Thunderclap, each time you move, for each space you move is +1 power. So by itself does nothing. But let's just say you play the boost and they strike immediately. Here's what you're going to do, right? It synergizes with Lightning Javelin because that advances as far as possible is a hit effect.
Before
Meaning you get that
damage.
+1. Exactly. You get that plus power before the damage goes off. Let's say you play that Blitzhammer. That's close 2 spaces as before, and a hit effect move 2 spaces. So that's
That's 4.
That's 4 damage as a hit before the damage goes out. You've already increased your damage by 4.
Okay.
Ionization. That's a hit effect on retreat as far as possible. That's going to be a bunch of extra damage.
And
So
all of those
with these,
things are. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Those are my worst case. That's if my opponent
yeah,
strikes into me instantaneously, right?
yeah. So like if you're in a position where they don't really have a good option and they're trying to defuse the boost, they can't because you still have stuff that deals with that. Oh,
Okay.
inevitability advances before closing its bases. Put that on there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean that I've automatically just upped my kill threshold for what I need to actually hit with that inevitability. Now the game's over
Yeah,
at 9.
you pull off an ionization at range 2 or whatever, and you're on defense, and you're over here, and you just play down this boost. And what are they going to do? They're gonna move closer to you. It's like, okay, well now I have another turn. Guess what? Now that you have another turn, because they move up here or something, you're gonna play, I don't know, Speed Force and move across the entire battlefield and gain
Oh, because it
one,
works
two, three,
outside. It
four,
works
five, six,
outside of.
seven.
It works outside of strikes too.
Yep.
Jay, no,
Yep.
no, you
Yeah.
can't do that. So
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 when I said that we had some uncapped power game, this is what we're talking about.
okay. So like the bare minimum of what I'm doing is I'm just wiggling back and forth forever to just build up power like I'm charging up static electricity. But
Yeah.
I move so much so fast that, Speed Force is now, if I'm in the corner, Speed Force is +2 power. I'm sorry, +2 speed, +8 power.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I guess
Okay.
it's only +7 power because crossing over only counts as
Oh,
one
sure.
space.
Sure. Okay. Just +7
Yeah.
for a turn. All right.
Or
That's
you can do really stupid stuff like you can play the run in boost on cross for +3 power, and then the next turn because they didn't get rid of it for some reason, you retreat with your assault boost and you just dance back and forth to get absurd power bonuses.
okay. So that's messed up.
Yep.
Is that practical, or is it mostly like I'm going to put it down and then my opponents they know how scary this is, they're immediately going to strike?
Um, if you are Ulrik's opponent, you really want to get rid of that somehow, and if you don't have the ability to do that for whatever reason, you're in bad trouble.
Right.
Like your
Okay.
options at that point are, man, I really hope I'm playing a character who has the reading boost. Because if you're
Yeah.
playing someone who doesn't have the reading boost in season 6 or 7, this is going to get rough very
So
quickly.
because then I mean again like anywhere I am, I pass the turn at range 3. They're like cool. Uh, they try to play against the Blitzhammer that they think I'm going to play to deny me 4 power and hitting for 7. Awesome. I do Lightning Javelin instead. I'm above curve now. Oh, that misses at
Yeah,
range 3. But there's
you have something. You have something. You have
do
inevitability that at least gets you +2, I guess.
right. Yeah. So I've got ways to make that happen. I have so much
Yeah,
range that I'll know when I can do this kind of safely. They
yeah,
have 1 turn, maybe less, to deal with
yeah,
Thunderclap. All right,
yeah.
that's messed up. Okay.
Yeah, ideally you play this somewhere where they aren't going to win the strike on their turn, right?
Right,
It's like if you're at
right,
range 8, they don't have something that's just going to win them a strike right there. It's like, okay, whatever you do, I'm going to hurt you, right? I
right.
play inevitability, or you move in and I play something else, or I play boost or whatever. Um, so yeah, if you have some kind of threat that's saying you can't just strike into me and win the strike right now, here and now, then this is amazing.
Okay. And because of how much positioning I have, that will often be the case.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, and I'll be using both sides of this card. This is a good
Yep.
above curve damage option, just like Lightning Javelin is, but with better, more
Yeah.
consistent melee range band.
Yeah.
Thunderclap is my
This is
strike
your
card.
ideal card to win the game if the opponent has like 4 health left or whatever,
Right.
6 health if you put a power boost on it. But
Right.
otherwise, it's also your ideal card to just deliver a ton of damage.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
How about Atomic Bolt?
Atomic Bolt is going to be a bit more of a conventional ultra in terms of it's just good. It's not actually broken, but it's still very very good.
Okay.
So it's 3 gauge, 185. The before effect is advance until you move past the opponent or as far as possible.
Okay.
Um, so it basically just says that it's going to hit no matter where the opponent's standing, as long as you get to go first.
Okay.
Which with the speed 5 at long range, it's pretty consistently going first. Its biggest weakness is that it doesn't have ignore armor, and saying that the power 8 card is weak because it doesn't have ignore armor is kind of wild, but there you go.
But it's Ulrik, and I could be hitting with this, I could be hitting with this, I could be hitting with this, and those all deliver my power better.
Yeah, I will
Okay.
frequently find that, yeah, there are better ways to power with Ulrich, but sometimes you have a lot of gauge, and this is 8 power without any kind of setup. So, go ahead and use it in that case.
Okay. Okay. This might not be as obvious a game ender
Mhm.
as my ignore armor options, but it's still, I mean,
Yeah,
that's still a nuts ultra.
exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Um, you can always, if you don't need it as an ultra, you can always use it as force to pay for speed force, or as movement to give yourself +2 power when you got Thunderclap in play.
Okay. Yep, that all makes sense.
Yep.
How about yeah, God, that's yeah, just or honestly, just putting Thunderclap down and then advance as far as possible, or advance until you move past the opponent. That could give me a ton of power.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, there's a lot of combo potential in here. How about static charge?
All right. So again, this is a fitting boost for this power because it's not competing with it in terms of brokenness. It's just decent.
Okay.
So every time you move one space, you get +1 armor. So it's the complement of Thunderclap, except it's the defensive side of the combo.
Okay.
So this is like you pair that with Blitzhammer, and now you have a 4 armor Blitzhammer, which means that it just beats Assault because it doesn't get stunned out, and it also trades well with a lot of stuff.
Right. Okay. So as long as as long as my before and hit effect go off, I'm getting a lot of armor.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, sorry, I should not have said it beats Assault. It does not. Yeah,
it trades well into sweep now or something like that. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it ups my defensive power. I feel like I would rather just
Well, you put
kill
it on
them.
lightning. You put it on lightning javelin, and it lets you trade with their sweep or whatever.
Sure. Okay. I feel like I would rather just kill them than put down armor. But
Yeah, I mean,
this is something that I will be doing sometimes.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. This is not a game breaker, but it's +1 armor, and it's frequently a decent amount of armor if you get any amount of movement on it.
Okay. And I got a ton of movement. So
And
uh,
there are situations where you might prefer that, like if the opponent's got a lot of plus speed boost, then you can use this in anticipation of one of those, and then now you have a way to kind of negate their speed advantage by just stacking armor.
by just plowing through their strike and hitting them anyway and forcing a
Yeah,
trade. Okay, sure, that
yeah.
makes sense. Okay. Yeah, so that he's got a lot of really scary tools. So uh how do we so now that we've gone through the kit, um any considerations about the normals? Does he pretty much use those like any other character would, or are there certain things that he has to have that only the normals give him or something?
I mean, he really likes the combination of his ability to set up the normal ranges. He really likes, that plus power on grasp because all of his ignore armor just delivers that power so reliably.
Right.
He likes the movement on backstep and on run, the boost for assault and cross, because again, it lets him be in position to do set up inevitability or lightning javelin, or
Or
just to add power to
get a
thunderclap.
ton of power off a thunderclap, sure.
Yeah. Um, and in fact, I'd say he likes the run boost on Crass so much that it's really tempting to just not play Crass as a strike. I'm not sure that's
Okay.
correct, but it's tempting. Yeah.
Okay. You have so many uses for that positioning, and it can generate threat for you that cross itself
Yeah,
is hard to
exactly.
play. Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Um.
you don't necessarily need to play tech a whole lot, so dive is a decent option as a strike
Okay.
because, like I said, boost warring with Ulrich is usually going to result in Ulrich winning.
Sure. And dive is a great like delivery mechanism for my boosts.
Yeah, and it has
Okay.
movement on it, so you can put it with Thunderclap.
Oh my god. Yeah. That's actually really scary.
Yeah, dive is
I mean,
power 8 with Thunderclaps in play.
yeah. That just beats focus. What the hell?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
All
mean,
right. So
we do have like Thunder Smite for +3 power with no conditions, but again, Thunderclap is not necessarily saying It's not the threat because of how much power it is; it's how much power it could be,
Right. So they
which
have to
means
deal with it right
it's
now.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's really messed up. Okay. What about defend versus spike? Any considerations there?
Uh, yeah. Normally, Spike's pretty good and defense kind of meh. So I like to set up situations where you have plus speed in this into Spike.
Right.
But the thing that
And I
makes
have
Spike
some.
really good is ignore armor,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all of your ignore armor options are better than Spike.
Okay.
Lightning Javelin is above curve. That's a better way to deliver ignore armor. Inevitability can't be stunned, can't be dodged. Second strike is always going to hit if you're in the right position. So I like those options more than Spike for delivering ignore armor. So I'm actually going to like the defend boost here. Right, defend boost is a good way to say I'm in the corner. I need some time, or I need something that lets me not get pulverized while I'm in the corner. So I put down defend boost. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It also might be. Oh, actually, we'll get into economy in a second. But is this a card that I might be CCing with sometimes?
Uh, yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I
Um.
like the defend boost enough that I'm not going to say yes, but yeah, maybe.
Okay. Okay. Um. And then how about sweep versus light? I feel like he's got plenty of uses for +2 speed. He's got plenty of uses for sweep. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, both sides of this are really good. Sweep
Okay.
turns out to be really strong by itself, and it becomes even better when you have lots of power added onto it.
Sure. It's plenty
Uh,
consistent. It's easy to get to
yeah,
range one with him. I can see that.
yeah. So playing sweep is great, and it's also a good defensive tool, meaning that when it's your turn, you can control the board state pretty well, but when it's the opponent's turn, they might be able to punish you. So keeping a sweep in hand can help deal with that.
Okay.
But also +2 speed is just always good. So
Sure.
it's a
Yeah.
situation, it's a play stop type of call. Either use case is valid.
Makes sense. So yeah, it seems like +2 speed starts a boost war, and as you said, there's no way they can deal with a boost war with Ulrik. You can put a lot of threat down on the board very quickly, so +2 speed can probably help with that.
Yep.
Um, how about focus versus reading?
I like the attack here. I like the after draw card help you a little bit with that economy issue. Meaning that if you hit with it, you probably plus economy because you have gauge and that drawn card.
Right.
I like the fact that it's defensive because again, that is the one thing you need to watch out for is have the opponents using their turns since you're passing turn a lot. Um, so yeah, I like the defensive application of just playing it as an attack on the opponent's turn.
Okay.
Reading's fine. Reading's actually very strong, but that's just because it's reading and not necessarily because you want to play this on Ulrich.
Sure.
Ulrich, you
Sure.
have a lot of things you want to be doing on your turn, so it's hard to justify using your turn as a reading when you can just buff up inevitability and
And
win
just
no matter
and
what
just
they have.
make it not matter what
Yeah.
they're playing.
You definitely I would definitely not recommend doing a blind reading. Like don't reading if you know there's a chance it might fail.
Right.
Because again, there are probably better things for you to do with your turn.
Right. Yeah, and like you said, that has less to do with reading. That has more to do with Ulrich just having a lot of solid options. And then
Correct.
block and parry, I assume, is kind of just block and parry.
Block and parry, same as ever.
Okay.
You want to parry their game winning ultra, or what? You even want to parry their copy of focus to get rid of reading. Like if you can get rid of their reading, that's one of your biggest dangers.
Okay.
So just
Okay.
take it out. Uh,
They'll
yeah,
use that to make you waste value when you have a lot of boosts down.
yeah. Any character that wants to spend a lot of turns building up has got to be scared of reading. So
Okay.
getting rid of reading is good for you.
Okay. Sure, I get you. All right, so that's all the cards in the kit.
Yeah,
I feel like now the game plan coalesces pretty strongly, and it is centered around get a lot of power, get to a range where your opponent can't do anything about it, and then just run them over. Um, so
yeah. He's very straightforward, but he
yeah,
does it
and
very well.
yeah, it seems like it. Tell me a little bit about how to manage my economy. So I have an exceed mode that I'm probably not going to use, and then basically like one, two, kind of three, and then change cards for four.
Hmm.
Payouts for my gauge.
Yep.
I'm spending most of it changing cards. It sounds like.
You are spending it on ultras, changing cards, and this boost payout, and on just moving. The move action is pretty good for you as well.
Oh, even though I have so much movement in my kit and movement on my character ability,
Yep.
I will still
So
occasionally just need to play footsies.
yeah, if you don't have the run boost, you don't have speed force. You don't want to be in the spot, so move out of it.
Right.
You don't want to
Okay.
be cornered.
Okay. So I mean that for a character who is not explicitly generating a ton of gauge, um, how
You
am
generate enough.
I?
Like, you're not bad at it because like you have all this above curve stuff, meaning that you can
I,
generally
I
get gauge.
I'm hitting consistently, probably both on my turn and on my opponent's turn. Um,
Mhm.
so I'll have enough, but
Yeah,
I'm not swimming in gauge.
yeah,
Um, how
and that's
much?
more a function of the fact that you win games before you can swim and gauge a lot of times.
That's true. I guess that's a fair point. That's kind of a first world problem to be complaining about. That I don't have enough gauge because my opponent's already dead.
Yeah.
So maybe this doesn't matter as much as I think it does. But in terms of how I'm spending my gauge, um, should I'm mostly. Do you think prioritizing it like an economic factor to just keep my cards flowing and get my really good stuff, or is it really that important to be focusing on my big payouts?
Um, if you are down in cards and you have say 4 gauge, absolutely change cards. Uh, if you only have 2 gauge, it's a little bit trickier because second strike is a good attack. It's good on defense and on offense. Good on defense
Right.
just because it's speed
It's
8, but
above
on
curve.
offense because above curve, gain advantage, ignore armor, win the game, that kind of thing.
It's good to win the game typically, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
Okay. So I have these payouts that are all competing with each other. At some level it seems like it's a choice of convenience. I have so many ways to kill my opponent that I
yeah,
don't need second strike to kill them. I could use inevitability. I could use lightning javelin.
yeah.
Um
And it'll depend a lot on what you have in your hand as well. Like if you
okay.
don't have the stuff that you need in your hand, it's great to change cards. If you have the stuff you need and you have some other way to spend your turn, like just play some power boost or whatever, you can not spend your gauge and see what happens.
Right. So don't worry too much about the economy.
Yeah,
He's got enough ways to kill you that he can probably find his way.
yeah.
Um, that's helpful. Okay, so so it it seems like in terms of how I want to be spending my turn, it's you mentioned at the beginning of the lesson, it's this kind of like build up and pay out rhythm, right? Where I'm putting a boost down, I'm moving to an important range, um, and then I'm making my opponent explode without anything that they can do about it. Do I have like filler offense, or am I typically would I typically rather be spending my turns setting up a strike and then paying it out rather than just pressuring my opponent?
You would like to set up as much as possible generally.
Okay.
If you're just striking raw from hand, again, there are situations where it's absolutely correct to do that, especially if the strike lets you reposition somewhere you want to be. And that's really the main use of striking without anything on the board is to reposition here.
Okay. And some of that could be done. I mean, lightning javelin seems like a great way to reposition on my opponent's turn a lot of the time if I'm at the range where I can hit with it.
Mhm.
Um okay. So I can definitely uh it, strike in order to set up. Uh and then when I'm at a range, set up in order to strike, it sounds like.
Yeah,
Okay, interesting.
I
Um
would definitely prefer to use my own turns to set up when possible.
okay. And the things that I'm setting up typically, I've got all of my various power boosts. Probably I'm going to be crutching on it looks like this one and maybe uh this one. Like
Yeah,
these two are
yeah.
the big
Those are your two highest potential ones. Yeah, this
okay.
because it's active immediately. This one because it has no limit.
Right. And these two cards are quite strong and I'm probably looking to play these as attacks occasionally.
Yeah,
Um whereas these are a little bit well, I mean second strike is very strong, but and then I'm probably looking to reposition with lightning javelin, pay out with lightning javelin, definitely pay out with inevitability. Um get to
yeah.
where I need to go with speed
If
force.
I'm doing setup, one of my favorite combos is going to be a thunderclap somewhere where they are discouraged from striking into me.
Okay.
Like if I've already got like a light in play or whatever, and then a thunderclap, and they're like, okay, I have to reposition, so
Right.
this doesn't wreck me. And then I follow it up with Speed Force, so I can just move to the opposite side of the board and gain +7 speed. Like
Right.
that's my favorite combo right there.
Okay. So in sequencing those moves to force a play and then punish their reaction to get way more out of it. All right. So that, yeah,
Yeah,
that's God, that's scary. And
yeah. The big
that's like two
strategy
turns.
with your setup, yeah, the big strategy with your setup is just playing things in the correct order to put pressure in the right direction. Because
Okay.
if I put like Speed Force first, uh, then there's a lot.
Well,
I mean
they haven't.
that
You haven't been able to move far enough away from them because they haven't moved towards you yet.
and also crucially, it doesn't threaten Thunderclap because I've already moved, so I'm not getting that power
You're not
from
getting the
speed.
power from Thunderclap. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. That makes
yeah,
sense. And
yeah,
then I'm just the easy way to pay out is just with inevitability or second strike or lightning javelin. I
yeah.
have plenty. Okay, okay. Um, God, that's a very simple way to just murder your opponent. Okay. Um, any other strategic considerations that you wanna go over? I got a couple questions about sort of the administrative stuff for the end of the guide, but any other kind of Ulrich specific strategy you want to discuss?
Well, there's a couple of memes that are worth mentioning with Ulrich. The
Please.
first is that he is the close eight spaces started with him as far as I believe. So if you we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then he's just gonna ram his face into one more space, I guess.
He can't help it. He has to
Yeah, yeah,
unless
yeah,
unless my opponent's over here.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
he can't
So,
actually fulfill the
right.
criteria on inevitability.
He closes as much as possible and then some.
Okay, that's
The
actually really weird.
um, small miscellaneous thing. I don't want to mention this because I know someone's gonna become stronger at dealing with my Ulrich as a result. Um, everyone can beat inevitability if they play dive.
Oh, sure.
So,
Okay,
so,
yes. You
so I was at range 1 once against an opponent. He has inevitability built up to kill me, and I just dive. And I miss, but he does too.
Yeah, that is way more worth it for you than it is for them.
Yep.
If you can make them whiff. Okay, so make sure that you do have a way out. It just requires some positioning setup,
Yeah.
and obviously there's a mix up
You don't have a way out of dealing with this inevitability though. So
right?
good luck.
Sure, right. All right, God, yeah, that's something that you need to know what to do with too.
Yep.
What is the Ulrich counterplay? I guess that's the next place this guide should go. How do you stop this guy?
You ideally you have good ways to spend your own turns. So if you can win strikes on your own turn, especially with action compression type stuff, and you just do enough damage on your own turns that his setup turns are only going to do 20 damage to you over the course of the game, and
Right.
then you just come out ahead that way. He doesn't have amazing defenses. I say that, but I look at his cards and he actually does have pretty good defenses.
Yeah, he can hit you. He can definitely hit
Yeah,
above curve and stuff. So
yeah,
aggressing into him is tough.
yeah. It is. I mean, reading is one of your go-to strategies. It also helps that he's in season 1, and there's like 4 or 5 characters who can do enough broken stuff that their broken stuff might counter his broken stuff.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
So honestly, there's not a lot of things that some characters can do against this guy, but mostly it is going to be like pressure him well on your turn,
yeah,
break his setups with reading, stuff like that.
yeah.
Okay.
Or let him play a bunch of setup, and it's like, okay, well, he's gotten 4 of his power boost out there. Now I play this thing that he can't deal with, and he just whiffs a strike, and cool.
And
He
lost a ton
zeroes
of
out.
value. He's got no
He
economy.
lost value. He lost economy, and now it's going to be a couple of turns of him just rebuilding his options while you get to pound on them.
Okay. And then you better pressure him hard in those turns because he's going to come back and kill you later.
Yeah, exactly. He does
Oh,
put a time limit on the game. Like, there's
okay.
no way to get past that.
Okay. All right. Sure. Um any
Uh, there,
other
there, there's
I'm
a
sorry,
couple
go.
of memes that I want to mention with him.
Please.
First is Ulrich versus Taisei. I'm fairly
Oh,
confident this is the
oh
least balanced matchup
God.
in all of Big Seat history.
Oh God. I had a Taisei lesson yesterday. So I know all about Taisei's armor shenanigans. That's
Yeah,
That's like
Yeah,
nauseating.
I've told people that Ulrich is an insta win against Tyson no matter what they do, and they don't believe me. So I was like, all right, let's go into a game, and then I kill him on turn two, and it's like, never mind, I take back what I said.
Yeah, I mean, even like late game set up entrenched Taisei really crutches
Yeah,
on his armor.
but he
That's
doesn't get to
so
late game. He,
that's
he he
so
dies he
rude.
dies within 3 to 4 strikes minimum. So
Yeah, because he also has 15 life. That's
yeah,
that's so sad.
yeah. Um, the other mean thing about Ulrich is I think he might theoretically have the highest damage cap in the game. So you play Thunderclap, and then you play the other copy of Thunderclap, so you have both of them in play, and the opponent's just going to kind of stand there and do nothing. So you just like wiggle back and forth,
Yeah,
and you
you
gain
you
something
just
like
you just rub your hands together really really fast to get a lot of static electricity.
yeah, you gain something like plus 80 power, and you one shot them even with blocking the full hand on their side.
Yeah, that. I mean, if it's not the highest power, it might as well be because that's more life than two characters have put together. It's like you kill
Yeah.
them and their brother or something at that point.
What's really great is my theory crafting was I don't know if you've gone over Balcor yet, but he has an ultra which causes him to take double damage.
Ah.
So you play so you do this setup and then you go into Balcor and you hit him for like 150. But that same ultra also says you can't die this turn, so you hit him for 150 non-lethal.
And then the game keeps going.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. I have not had the Belcor lesson. I look forward to that interaction. That sounds fun. Um, God, what a scary character. And like I already had for people who have not seen these lessons yet, I've already had the Alice lesson. I'm having the Juno lesson later this week. Like
Ooh.
even uh I mean I've dealt with some really 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 scary characters on this show. Ulrich is it's intimidating how obvious and how straightforward some of the ways he just kills you are.
Yeah, that,
Um,
that really is the thing about Ulrich. Like he is very obvious about what he's doing.
yeah, that's.
Which
I mean,
which yeah.
it makes it easy to do a guide about him, but that's disheartening. Um, I guess my final question then, unless you have other stuff that you want to mention, um, is if he were in a time machine, how would he do into like modern Exceed? Would he be still the terror that he was? Would he be ban worthy? Is he too strong for modern Exceed? Or has the way the meta has shifted towards a more action compression, more uh, high speed aggressive playstyle? Would that actually give him trouble?
So yeah, it's a good question. I don't think he'd be ban worthy. I'm very skeptical of that because he wasn't even ban worthy back in season one,
Right. So
and I don't
in
think
order,
his seed's gotten weak enough. I don't think the modern meta is actually particularly weak.
right,
Uh,
agreed.
yeah. So even though he was probably overtuned, he was overpowered. Uh, I think most seasons could answer and played well. Uh, and what were you saying?
No, I was going to kind of agree with you that like I don't think that most like I don't think that modern Exceed is weak necessarily. I was just wondering
Yeah.
if like the design principles sometimes that happens when like the evolution of a game goes in a direction that allows an older character to like exploit the new engine or something or the new play patterns. Um,
Yeah.
but so
Well,
it
his
sounds
his his playstyle is very much a mismatch for the modern era.
so
He is doing something that they don't really have an answer to, and they're doing something he doesn't really have an answer to. And I feel like he would have the advantage, at least right now, just because he's very straightforward and easy to pilot. And then we would have to see over time if how people develop strategies against him to see whether or not he can actually hang it, or if he's actually very strong.
okay, sure, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, I mean, it does not take long. It takes apparently approximately an hour and 8 minutes to learn how to play Ulrich. Um,
Yeah,
what was the competitive meta in which season one was legal? Was it just season one and season two, and then after that it was banned?
I believe so. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Okay,
And,
so
and I do think there was a desire to get season one out of rotation, just because you had a lot
it
of these
it was kind of janky.
stale, janky strategies that overly rely on stuff that would not be printed today.
Okay. So we really don't have a ton of data on how Ulrich would go even into like Street Fighter or something, which is interesting. Okay.
Ulrik into Street Fighter would still be a very similar meta to when he was in season one, because Street Fighter does not significant. Street Fighter is a basics, a fundamentals season. So,
Right. Right.
and he's very good at the fundamentals, so he'd be fine there.
Okay. Okay. Well, cool. Jay, this has been awesome. Anything else you
Yeah,
want to mention before we wrap it up?
I think I covered everything.
No, you did a great job. You are consistently making me question the name of the show because none of these episodes feel excessive. Um,
I'll have to find some ways to pad things out.
yeah, please be less efficient. Honestly, it's making me look bad. Um, seriously though, Jay, thank you so much. It's been a blast talking to you as always. Thank you for teaching me Ulrik.
Absolutely.
Always fun. Folks at home, I hope you learned something. I hope you had fun too. I will see you all for the next one. Goodbye, everybody.